James and Lily Potter were just the beginning. From a muggle gardener in Little Hangleton to the greatest wizard of the age. Voldemort's kill list spans decades, 2 wars, and every corner of the wizarding world. In this video, we're breaking down every single confirmed death, one by one, and by the time we're done, you'll understand just how much he truly took from this world. Number 1. James Potter. As for Voldemort's first kill in the series, this one needs no introduction. On the night of October 31st, 1981, Voldemort arrived at the Potter home in Godric's Hollow. He'd been tipped off by a traitor, someone James Potter trusted with his life. James had no wand. He'd left it in another room. So when Voldemort walked through that door, James Potter stood in his way, with nothing but courage. It didn't matter. Voldemort cast Avada Kedavra. James fell, and he was dead before he hit the floor. But Voldemort wasn't done. Number 2. Lily Potter. James was gone. But Lily Potter was still standing in that house, holding her infant son. Voldemort gave her a choice. Step aside and live. He actually had no desire to kill her, but Lily refused. She planted herself in front of Harry's crib and would not move. So Voldemort cast the killing curse a second time. Lily died, but in doing so, she triggered an ancient magic that Voldemort had never accounted for. Her sacrifice left a protection on Harry so powerful that when the curse rebounded off the boy and hit Voldemort himself, it nearly destroyed him entirely. The 2 most important deaths in the entire story, and Voldemort caused them both. Number 3. The Riddle family. Now, before we go further, we have to go back, because Voldemort's killing started long before Godric's Hollow. As a teenager, Tom Riddle tracked down his Muggle father, the man who had abandoned his mother, and murdered him. He killed Thomas Riddle, his wife Mary, and his own grandfather in their home in Little Hangleton. He then framed his Muggle uncle for the crime. 3 people dead, a family wiped out, and Tom Riddle was barely 16 years old. Number 4. Hepzibah Smith. A few years later, while working at Borgin and Burke's, Riddle visited an elderly witch named Hepzibah Smith. She was wealthy, vain, and she made the mistake of showing him 2 of the most precious magical artifacts in existence, Hufflepuff's cup and Slytherin's locket. 2 days later, Hepzibah Smith was dead, poisoned, and those 2 treasures were gone. Riddle had used her death to create 2 of his horcruxes, splitting his soul twice in a single murder. It was cold, calculated, and completely without remorse. Number 5. Bertha Jorkins. Fast forward to 1994. A Ministry of Magic employee named Bertha Jorkins took a holiday to Albania. She made the mistake of crossing paths with Voldemort, who at that point was barely even a body. He tortured her, broke through a powerful memory charm placed on her mind, and extracted everything she knew about the Triwizard Tournament, the Death Eaters, and a very loyal follower being held under his father's thumb. Once she'd given him everything, Voldemort killed her. Her shade would later emerge from his wand at the graveyard, one of many ghosts Voldemort left behind. Number 6. Frank Bryce. Shortly after killing Bertha, Voldemort was hiding in the old Riddle house in Little Hangleton. An elderly Muggle gardener named Frank Bryce, the same man who'd been wrongly blamed for the Riddle family murders decades earlier, heard voices in the house and went to investigate. He found Voldemort and Wormtail. He heard things he shouldn't have heard. So, Voldemort killed him. Frank Bryce had spent his whole life under suspicion for murders he didn't commit, and in the end, he was killed by the actual murderer. His death opened Goblet of Fire, and Harry saw the whole thing through his scar. Number 7. Cedric Diggory. This is the one that changed everything. Cedric Diggory was fair, talented, and genuinely kind. A Hogwarts champion who'd earned his place in the Triwizard Tournament on merit. He and Harry reached the cup at the same time and grabbed it together. But it was a portkey. They landed in the graveyard, and within seconds, Wormtail was pointing Voldemort's wand at Cedric. Voldemort said 3 words. Kill the spare. Kill the spare! Cedric Diggory was dead before he could react. He was 17 years old. His death was so sudden, so pointless, so brutal. It was the moment the series stopped being a children's story. Number 8. Dorcas Meadows. During the First Wizarding War, Voldemort built a kill list of people considered to be too dangerous to leave alive. Dorcas Meadows was one of them. A member of the original Order of the Phoenix, she was considered such a threat that Voldemort killed her personally. Moody confirms it when he shows Harry the old Order photograph. Most people killed in the war were taken out by Death Eaters. Dorcas was different. Voldemort wanted to handle her himself. Number 9. Gideon and Fabian Pruitt. Also in that photograph are the Pruitt brothers, Gideon and Fabian, the brothers of Molly Weasley. Moody tells Harry it took 5 Death Eaters to bring them down, and that they fought like heroes. Their killer was Antonin Dolohov, one of Voldemort's most feared inner circle, who was later convicted and sent to Azkaban for the murders. 2 members of one family, 5 Death Eaters required. They did not go quietly. Number 10. Amelia Bones. By 1996, Voldemort was back and moving fast. Amelia Bones was the head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, one of the most powerful positions in the ministry, and someone who had always pursued justice fairly, regardless of politics. Voldemort killed her personally. The Prime Minister of Britain himself was told about the murder. She was described as having been killed nastily. Even at the ministry level, no one was safe. Number 11. Emmeline Vance. In those same brutal opening weeks of the Second Wizarding War, another Order member named Emmeline Vance was murdered by Death Eaters. The killing was described as nasty. Snape later claimed he was the one who betrayed her location. Whether that was true or a lie to maintain his cover, the result was the same. Another Order member dead, and Voldemort's forces sending a clear message to anyone who stood against them. Number 12. Igor Karkaroff. Now here's one the Death Eaters saved for themselves. Igor Karkaroff had been a Death Eater during the First Wizarding War. After Voldemort fell, he turned on his own people and traded names to get out of Azkaban. When Voldemort returned, Karkaroff ran. He lasted just over a year. His body was eventually found in a shack, the dark mark hanging in the sky above it. Death Eaters don't forget traitors, and they don't forgive them either. Number 13. Broderick Bode. This one is nasty in a different way. Quiet, calculated, and hidden in plain sight. Broderick Bode was an unspeakable at the Ministry who'd been placed under the Imperious Curse by Death Eaters to try to steal a prophecy. The attempt failed and left him hospitalized at St. Mungo's. As he recovered, Death Eaters sent him a gift, a cutting of Devil's Snare, disguised as a plant. As his condition improved and he regained his senses, the plant throttled him in his own hospital bed. No wand, no spell, just a quiet assassination that looked like an accident. Walden McNair was behind it. Number 14. Sirius Black. Harry's godfather, the last living connection to his parents. Sirius Black had spent 12 years in Azkaban for a crime he didn't commit, survived, escaped, and was finally starting to get his life back. Then, during the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, he was hit by a curse from his own cousin, Bellatrix Lestrange, and fell backward through the veil. He didn't scream. He didn't get a dramatic final speech. He was just gone. The look on Harry's face said everything. It remains one of the most devastating deaths in the entire series. Number 15. Dumbledore, the greatest wizard of the age. For years, Voldemort feared only one person, Albus Dumbledore. By the end of Half-Blood Prince, Dumbledore was already dying, cursed by one of Voldemort's horcruxes, and he had arranged his own death with Snape to protect Draco Malfoy from having to commit murder. On top of the Astronomy Tower, weakened and wandless, Snape cast Avada Kedavra and Dumbledore fell. It was a death orchestrated by Dumbledore himself, a final act of strategy that would eventually bring Voldemort down. But in that moment, standing on the tower, it felt like all hope was gone. Number 16. Charity Burbage. In the opening chapter of Deathly Hallows, we're inside Malfoy Manor. A woman is suspended above the Death Eater's dinner table. Professor Charity Burbage, the Muggle studies teacher at Hogwarts, had written a newspaper article defending Muggleborns. That was enough. Voldemort delivered a monologue about her crimes, gave Snape a chance to intervene, and Snape said nothing. Then, Avada Kedavra. Her body fell onto the table, and Voldemort said, "Dinner, Nagini." Dinner. It's one of the most chilling scenes Rowling ever wrote, and it sets the tone for the entire final book. Number 17. Hedwig. Not a human kill, but one that cuts just as deep. During the Battle of the Seven Potters, Harry's owl, his first ever birthday gift, his companion for 7 years, was struck by a killing curse. She died instantly in her cage. It was sudden, senseless, and it told you everything about where the story was heading. The era of relative safety was over. Anything could die now. Number 18. Alistair Mad-Eye Moody. Mad-Eye Moody was one of the most decorated Aurors in history. He spent his entire career hunting dark wizards. He was paranoid, gruff, and nearly impossible to kill. He'd survived the First Wizarding War and had the scars to prove it. But during the Battle of the Seven Potters, Voldemort himself entered the chase, flying without a broom, which no wizard had ever done, and hit Moody with the killing curse. He fell from his broom at 1,000 feet. His body was never recovered. Number 19. Rufus Scrimgeour, the Minister for Magic himself. Scrimgeour had replaced Fudge specifically because he was harder, more prepared, more willing to fight. He refused to give Voldemort what he wanted. So, when the Death Eaters finally took the Ministry, Scrimgeour was the first to go. He was tortured for information on Harry Potter's whereabouts. He gave them nothing. Then, he was killed. The announcement came in 3 sentences during a wedding reception. The Ministry has fallen. Scrimgeour is dead. They are coming. Number 20. Ted Tonks and Dirk Cresswell. Confirmed on the Potter Watch broadcast. Ted Tonks, Nymphadora's father, the man who'd sheltered Harry after the Battle of the 7 Potters, was killed by Death Eaters while on the run as a Muggleborn. Dirk Cresswell, a Ministry official who'd also refused to submit, died with him. Their deaths were announced on an illegal radio broadcast because the Daily Prophet wouldn't cover them. That detail alone tells you everything about what Britain had become. Number 21. Grigorovich. Voldemort was hunting the Elder Wand. The wand maker, Grigorovich, had once possessed it, and someone had stolen it from him years earlier. Voldemort found Grigorovich, broke into his mind, saw the memory of the theft, and then killed him once he'd extracted everything useful. Grigorovich begged. He screamed. Voldemort didn't hesitate. Number 22. Severus Snape. Voldemort believed that the Elder Wand's true allegiance lay with whoever had killed Dumbledore. He believed that was Snape. So, in the Shrieking Shack, Voldemort instructed Nagini to kill him. The snake struck. Snape bled out on the floor of that shack, alone, with only Harry watching. In his final moments, he gave Harry his memories, the ones that revealed everything. That he had loved Lily Potter his entire life. That he had been protecting Harry from the very beginning. Snape died the same way he had lived. Misunderstood and serving a purpose no one knew about. Numbers 23 through 26. The Battle of Hogwarts. The final battle claimed 4 more confirmed lives at the hands of Voldemort's forces. Remus Lupin, the last of the Marauders, the best defense against the dark arts teacher Hogwarts ever had. A man who'd spent his whole life fighting what he was killed during the battle by Antonin Dolohov. He died hours after becoming a father. Nymphadora Tonks, Lupin's wife. An Auror and Order member, killed by Bellatrix Lestrange. Their son Teddy was 2 months old. Fred Weasley, killed in an explosion during the battle, likely caused by Augustus Rookwood. Percy was right next to him. His eyes were still open. His last laugh was still on his face. Colin Creevey, underage, banned from the battle, sneaked back in anyway. He was tiny in death. Oliver Wood carried him into the Great Hall himself. And finally, Peter Pettigrew. This one is almost poetic. Wormtail, the man who'd sold out the Potters, framed Sirius, spent 12 years hiding as a rat, was given a silver hand by Voldemort as a reward for his loyalty. But in Malfoy Manor, when Harry and Ron were prisoners, Pettigrew hesitated. For just a moment, he showed them mercy, and the hand Voldemort had given him sensed it. It turned on its own master, wrapping around Pettigrew's own throat. He was killed by Voldemort's gift, betrayed by the Dark Lord he'd served his entire life, killed by the hand Voldemort made for him. There's no more fitting end than that.